Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What do you swear you saw but can't prove?
Poltergeist activity when I was younger. But it died down as time went on. Weirdest one for me was when my dresser drawer levitated out of the dresser, floated in front of my face for a few minutes, then smashed into the wall. I was the only one in the house. And weird part of it was I don't remember being that weirded out.
Last year, autumn of 2021. Big Bro and I have been into the supernatural and spooky things since we were kids. Always told me about his strange and ghostly encounters from when he was in his late teens to early 20s. We've been to some places, but nothing ever truly made me believe in ghosts. Been talking about LARPing as if we were real ghost hunters. He splurges on buying multiple electromagnetic field readers, motion detectors, mag lights, cameras, the works. Here's about some supposedly haunted hotel called the Beaumont Hotel in a tiny unincorporated part of Kansas. Some history of the place and rumors. The hotel was originally built in the late 1800s as a stop for the railroads and for pioneers. Supposedly, the original owner worked the hotel and his wife prostituted herself out to the guests so they could keep the business afloat. At some point, one of the regular guests, a cowboy by the name of Zeke, took a liking to her and an affair began. The owner found out of his wife's infidelity, and, when Zeke stayed again, he shot him several times in his sleep. To this day, residents and the current owners say Zeke still haunts the hotel, with his iconic spurs still jangling as he walks the halls. In the 1940s, as aviation really started to take off, locals started using the main street of the town as a landing strip. So, in 1953, the owner of the time, James Clinton J.C. Square, renovated the hotel and bought 70 acres of property to turn into a landing strip for pilots. This naturally brought in tons of pilots to the town who would make a rest stop at the hotel. Even to this day, J.C. passed away in 1980 after selling the hotel 2 years prior. Although as far as I know his family still runs the place. To this day, residents and owners claim sightings of ghosts and paranormal events happening on the daily. Knocks, footsteps, bangs, doors opening and closing, things being thrown and moved, all the stuff you hear of in the movies. Brother's birthday is coming up, so we decide we'd stay there for a night for the lulz. We want to LARP as ghost hunters, so we take all the cool things we can think of. Book the room and we head out. Over an hour on the highway, my eyes glazing over staring at the direction on Google Maps. I see we're getting close. Notice dirt road off the highway that leads to this wooded over area. We go on the dirt road into the town. Trees seem to loom over us, like bending overhead to form a tunnel. Totally no diminish at all. Wad. Beginning of town is old dilapidated building from multiple eras. Brick building from the 1800s, some old corner store from the 70s. It looks straight out of Resident Evil 4. See the hotel, with a nearby plane on display and an old train. All modern cars out front of the place, so seems normal-ish enough. Check into hotel and look at all the cool 50 seconds aviation memorabilia covered the walls. Neato. We're told where our room will be. We head upstairs and down this long hallway. Our room is at the very end. Feeling like I'm being watched the whole way there despite us being the only guests. I'll give a quick layout to the room. Right when you walk in, there's a huge bed, with a mini fridge to the right next to the door, with a nightstand on the other side of the bed next to the wall. At the end of the room, to the left of where you enter. At the foot of the bed essentially is a wall dividing the room in half with a TV on either side. In the other half of the room is a sitting area with the second aforementioned TV, 2 chairs with footrests, and the bathroom. Sorry for terrible mouse art, by the way. We arrived around 6-ish, so we decide to take a load off and get settled. Cracking stupid jokes, and he's giving me some more rundown of the history of this place. Within an hour, our first weird thing happens. Sitting in the chair closest to the window, opposite of the bathroom. Hear knocking on the window next to me. Turn and see the blinds move on their own. Mild spook. Webm. We both saw it but attempt to shrug it off as nothing. Few hours pass uneventfully. Bored out of my mind watching Family Guy on the TV in the sitting room. Around 9 we both agree we'll start our little LARPing investigation at 10:30 because that's when the hotel goes into silent time, as the owners called it. 10 hits and we start hearing some light knocking, but chalk it up to the housekeeping. We start to set up our gear. Motion detectors in the bedroom and on the bed. We have these tiny balls that light up when you shake them with enough force you'd give to like a dog. Set up 2 in the bedroom, 1 in the bathroom, and 1 in the sitting room on the floor. We each have an electromagnetic field reader, is an expensive nice one and mine a cheap one but can check temperature. By 10:30 the hotel is dead silent. Not a sound from the vacuums, not a footstep in the hall. Start our search by scanning each room for readings, making sure to note every object and area that could give off shit, TVs and the radio on the nightstand for example. Middle of the sitting room has 0 readings and rather open. Just to be safe, we turn off everything including the AC and ceiling fans. Around 80 degrees in room and 0 readings of any kind. Scan both rooms and the bathroom over and over in every corner for readings. Only thing we get is obviously if we are close to our phones or plugged in electronics. Make sure to avoid said electronics. Eventually we both settle on sitting on the footrest in the sitting room. Occasionally check bathroom because I just get weird vibes in there. Bathroom so tiny you have to shut the door to get to the shower that's across the room from the toilet. Sit in there and I get this overwhelming feeling to cry. Fear grips me and I have to leave. Tell bro to check out the bathroom next but don't mention what I felt. Comes back out looking bothered. Tells me he felt his eyes water and like something electrical touched him. We basically take turns feeling whatever is in there. Definitely feel a presence there, like someone else was in there and it felt cold and emotionally heavy like a funeral. We chill back on the footrests. Scan the middle of the room for readings. Ours both go into the red, getting heavy readings simultaneously from about the same area. Feel that heavy feeling again like I was gonna cry. Take a few deep breaths and try to take this professionally. The readings go away. Move my reader around and get fuck all. Feel this horrible feeling like I'm being watched from kinda behind me. Suddenly my left side feels ice cold. Move my reader next to me and it's flashing and going off. I don't remember it reading a temp change though. Tilt it so my brother can see it and he can see my look of like wanting to cry. Try to choke out it's next to me. Only a whisper comes out. Readings fade quickly and I feel the cold shift in front of me and back to the middle of the room. Brother's reader goes off. Track the movement with my reader to see the cause of the readings is. In fact, moving in thin air with 0 cause. Much of this dialogue is from memory so I'll give you the bits I do kinda remember. Brother speaks up.
Hello, we can see you're here.
Readings going off like crazy.
Thank you for showing yourself to us.
Or something like that. We do some basic holding our hands out and letting it touch us stuff. Every time we feel the coldness touch us, we consistently get readings. Decide we could try using the readers as a very rudimentary form of communication. He explains it to whoever or whatever was there. Basically 1 reading equals yes, I guess like no reading equals no. Why we didn't do like 1 for yes, 2 for no is beyond me. I assume if it's a ghost it must be this Sikh fella everyone's talking about.
Have you been here for a long time?
We get readings. Is there a JC? Here. Immediate and huge reading from both of our readers.
Is this JC? We are speaking to.
Immediate and huge readings again. I'm trying to process what is going on and that I'm not completely crazy. Ask some more basic questions. One rumor bro heard is that 16 spirits haunt this place.
Are there others that have been here a long time?
Yes again. Eventually try to narrow down the number and it lands on 15 others. Doesn't give a reading if we ask if there are more. From our questions we find out he stays here essentially because he loves his family here and the hotel he owns. Make sure to not ask about his death or the other side or whatever. Crack a joke or two trying to be lighthearted. The reader goes off constantly but peaks in a pattern like a person laughing. Realize he's laughing with us. Busy asking a question when I think I see the ball of the floor from earlier shift slightly. Brother saw it and asked if I did too. Mind you, the only lights in the room were our flashlights so it was very dark. Ask JC if he did it. Another yes. Ask him to do it again for us if he'd be okay with it. The thing moves enough to start flashing its lights. It rolls enough that we can see it roll. Shit bricks, MP4. We're both completely stunned at this point. We both saw something so irrefutable that it's not just feeling. Decide we'd move on to electronic voice phenomena. We tried a few devices including homemade devices. Basically picked up nothing for an hour. Eventually we decide we'll try to do one very last one before we decide to head to bed. Tell JC. If he wants to give any kind of parting message for us, he can. We left the phone on the floor for him and the ball from earlier was pretty close to it. During the recording the ball moves again and lights up. Thank him for letting us record him and for doing everything he has tonight.
I hope you don't mind us sleeping in here tonight.
No reading. Slowly goes into the green after a few seconds. We take it as a reluctant okay and laugh about it. Reader does that laughing pattern again. He was making a joke this time. Eventually bid our farewells and goodnight. The coldness and heavy feeling instantly go away. No readings at all. We pack our gear back up and head to bed. Turn on the TV and pass out. Best rest of my life. We wake up bright and early the next morning. Check the audio on bro's phone from last night and can faintly make out some weird stuff. Hear something get hit lightly at the exact time the ball rolled during the recording session. For me, that was more than enough evidence that what happened was 100% real. Unfortunately, he has the audio. I don't, but I'll see if I can get it sometime. We get all packed up and load our stuff in the car. Decide we'll take a look around the town before we leave. Check out the town's attractions. Only thing that interests me is the destroyed old corner store. The dust-covered window has writing on it in the dust. Names of others who came before us. Friends, siblings, lovers, some with dates over the decades. Bro and I get in the car to head home. Tells me the town cemetery is across the highway. Head over there to pay our respects. It takes some time, but we find JC's grave. Thanked him again for everything. Felt a happy presence next to me when I knelt down, like he was there with me. Brother and I entered that town expecting nothing. As stuff went on, we thought it was going to be creepy and awful. We went back home that day happy. Felt like we got to talk to a lonely soul who hadn't had real company in a long time. For so long before this, I had been a hardcore atheist and only saw the paranormal as fake but interesting. My very principles and beliefs or lack thereof were challenged that night, and today I live and accept what most of us would consider the supernatural as just a normal part of life. I've had many encounters with the other side since then, and while at times I feel like a schizo, JC made me realize and always remember that you shouldn't always be so quick to deny it all. I'll try to visit him again someday. Fun fact, I heard he loves to play pranks on people, including shutting and locking doors and pushing chairs in front of them when housekeeping is cleaning to lock them out of rooms.
I lived with my dad in high school in a condo with a shared wall with another unit. He would go away on business trips pretty frequently, so I'd get the place to myself a lot. I smoked cigarettes at the time and would go out in the middle of the night so my neighbors wouldn't narc on me to him about it. Our next door neighbors were an elderly couple around their late 70s, early 80s. I only ever saw the wife outside the place, and my dad said the husband was pretty ill and bedridden. One night I'm smoking out front with my headphones and listening to some Pink Floyd when I notice an old guy walk by, seemingly coming from the neighbor's condo. He walks to the end of the shared driveway and turns and looks at me. I give a friendly wave, but it's like he's looking through me. Very creepy. He walks up to the neighbor's door and disappears. I don't think much of it really. When my dad gets back from his business trip, we go get dinner, and I mentioned that I finally saw our neighbor's husband. He looks at me strangely and says I must be mistaken, because he had died a couple months earlier when I was staying the night at my friend's house. Instant chills. And I was never comfortable chilling out front of that condo at night again. I'm 100% certain that I saw the ghost of my neighbor's husband.
I was on the phone to my sister who lives in Australia, standing outside on the deck and having a smoke. Was partway through telling her about the creepy things I used to see as a kid. She's like, yeah, but that was probably sleep paralysis, etc. At that exact moment, I turn around and through my ranch slider, see a woman walk from my kitchen, across the open plan lounge, and into the spare bedroom. She was like a Victorian school matron, but it was really blurry and dark looking. I've never got such an epic fright in my life. Obviously there was nobody in the house, and I never saw her again. I asked Mom about the things I saw as a kid, and apparently I'd go crazy over a witch who used to stand in the corner of my room and frown at me on occasion. Apparently I'd do it when awake too, just playing with my Transformers or making Airfix models. And I am pretty sure the fumes from that glue isn't that strong. Also, should mention that the creepy shit I was telling my sister about was more physical. I saw a row of cupboards along the top of our hallway flapping in series. I saw a pair of cats chilling on my brother's bedroom windowsill. They were just sitting there staring at me, and I did a double take cause we didn't have cats at the time and they were inside the room. When I peeked back in, after calling Mom, they were gone, but all the things on his windowsill was on the ground. And the only other one I remember was when I was in my grandma's house in England, and someone started stomping around upstairs. My uncle and I rushed upstairs, and the footsteps ran away and slammed my grandma's bedroom door, even though there was nobody there. The other thing I saw was the little wooden animals on my ex's cabinet all dancing around one night. And when I told them to shut up and let me sleep, they flew off the shelf. This was after she called me around because she thought there was an intruder in the house, since her bedroom door handle was getting rattled around all crazy. She was pretty distraught and swore it was happening. I did hear footsteps and doors moving that night, but the house was locked up securely.
My mother's family used to live on the countryside, and they have a shit ton of stories involving La Llorona, kind old ladies appearing on a supposedly deserted building cleaning stuff on repeated occasions several decades apart but having the same appearance. Weird guys on black clothes riding on horses asking for people's names at 5 a.m. and such. I used to make fun of this stuff until this happened to me. Not that spoopy. Be in high school. Wake up at 3 a.m. for a piss. Finish pissing. About to open bathroom's door. Hear sound of someone just outside the door. Dragging their feet and pacing to and fro. Wearing slippers. Figure it's just mom or sis waiting for me to finish. Open door. No one outside. Probably an auditory hallucination. They are common enough and maybe I was half asleep still. Couple of weeks later. Same thing happens. Taking a piss at about 3 a.m. Get spooked, but think rationally through it. I wash my face at the sink, pinch my arm, wait for 5 minutes. Surely that'll wake me up for good. And if it's a hallucination, it'll pass right. Nope, sound just continued same as before. Someone dragging their slippers back and forth outside the bathroom. Adrenaline rushes in, quickly open door. Nothing again. Never before or after has something weird happened in my house. And while I don't believe in witches and shit, I now wholeheartedly believe that there's some unexplained stuff going on.
A friend of mine worked for a big server company. At night he would just make sure everything ran fine since it had clients globally. It needed someone on hand to deal with issues should they arise. He did it remotely from home, proper comfy-ass job. Sometimes he would host a game of Quake 3 Arena using his work servers. People would join, come and go the usual, but one guy was always the first on the server within seconds of it starting up. He wouldn't leave until the server went down, so he got talking to this guy and became quite good friends. I spoke to him as well a few times and seemed like a really normal dude. It was rare I could get on and do a late one since I worked a normal 9-to-5 job. My mate asked him where he was from. We guessed he was from the UK since he used British slang. He called himself Tommo, so we assumed his name was Thomas. Turns out Tommo was right near his place of work. It was about an hour's drive from where my mate lived to where he worked, so it was no big deal to have a few pints with the guy. So he asked if they should meet up and have a couple of pints, then blast some Quake 3 Arena later on. Tommo said he couldn't ever meet anyone, and just my mate laughed it off, saying he wouldn't attack him or anything, maybe just tickle a little. Thomas laughed back and said he would like to meet up for a pint. It would be a laugh, but he can't do that anymore. My mate asked why. Tommo said because I'm dead. My mate was freaking by this point. I had a barrage of text messages the next day. Sadly, like most normal people who got to get up, my phone was on silent, so I never got to witness any of it. My mate was obviously dubious at first. He thought he was jesting. So he decided to check into him a bit, and it turns out his IP was a loopback IP 127.001. My mate freaks. This means it was someone having a joke. It made sense that Tommo lived close by. More than likely a trick. So he drove to the office to find out who was messing with him. No one was there. The place is locked down with really high security, so there was no compromise from anyone other than a person who works there. Nothing, no one was there. He took his laptop and continued to talk to Tommo. He thought maybe someone had compromised the servers. With him installing shit he shouldn't on work servers and hosting games, he decided a good idea is to wipe it clean to make sure it wasn't his fault there was a compromise in the system. He still never understood how there was a compromise, but it must have been the cause. He was telling Tommo he's got to reinstall the server. Tommo responded to him differently. Instead of okay mate, it was that okay. Like the one you get from a pissed off girlfriend or something. He initiated the wipe. No scary finale or anything. But Tommo never appeared again. Even when he reinstalled the server and played Quake, Tommo never came back. After a bit of digging later on, it turns out Tommo was a nickname of a guy by the name of Thomas. Of course, he died right outside the building. Fell from scaffolding and died instantly. To this day, my mate feels like he killed him again.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.